Hello, everybody, and welcome to the study of the ballot question process webinar. People are getting signed in, and we'll start in just a minute.
Okay, now I can see.
Okay, welcome. This is Karen Price. I'm co-chair of the study committee, and the other co-chair, Donna Hooper, is also here, and we'll be making the presentation.
Welcome.
We are recording the webinar, and we may post it. As most of you know, this is the fourth of 4, and we're going to choose the one with the least number of problems and post that one. We're hoping it's going to be this one. So you can communicate with us by chatting in the chat box, if you see that on your screen. And you can either chat to just the panelists, which is Donna and me, or you can chat to everybody. In general, we'd want you to chat to us, and we will answer your question at the appropriate time. If you're having any problem, hearing us or anything like that, and you need immediate attention, we'll get to you right away. If you want to ask an oral question, you can raise your hand. Why doesn't everybody try raising their hands right now? Okay. See, up until this moment, I didn't really know whether you could hear me or not. So that's very reassuring. Okay, thank you. I think most of you have mastered that hand raising thing.
The hands.
You can also lower your hand, or I also have the ability to lower everybody's hand. So lower your hand unless you have a question, and we're not actually taking questions right now. You can post your questions anytime, but we may hold off answering them until the end. You can move the Zoom boxes around on your screen, the chat box. If it's blocking something, I think you could just grab it and move it. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Donna to start us out.
Okay, the goals of this study of the ballot question process in Massachusetts really are to educate the members about what the process really is in Massachusetts. And then at each league level, consider through consensus meetings if the process is fine or if there's any possible changes that might be necessary. And then ultimately to develop a position for your league, individual leagues, and then a position at the convention in 2019. So all the leagues across Massachusetts are using the same materials and same consensus questions to study this process. The local leagues will, after you go through the process, which we're giving you a slight overview on, will report the results of their consensus meetings to the state LWVMA, and the state board will prepare a position to recommend to its membership again at the convention anticipated to be in early June, at which a vote will be taken on the position. And then the LWVMA can decide if they propose any steps to enact any recommended changes to the process. So briefly, that's the goals of the study. How have we gotten this far? Karen and I are members of the 5-member study committee that has been actively investigating all of this. And we've held in excess of 40 video conferences, a few in-person meetings. We've conducted interviews with a number of state agency individuals, directors that are involved. They have a key role in one part of this process. We've also identified an attorney we've interviewed who has been actively sought after and represented a number of ballot question committees during the course of their efforts to get a question on the ballot. We've provided monthly reports to the directors of the LWVMA, And all of the information that Karen's going to touch upon, all the documents and materials that you've seen on the website or that you can check out on the website have been prepared by this committee as well. That's how we've reached the point where we are today. Before you actually conduct a consensus meeting, there's a number of tasks that the convener or the chair of the committee will have to do. Again, there's all kinds of information on our website, and one of the key documents before you even get going is how to conduct a consensus meeting. I have not myself participated in a consensus meeting in the past. I think there's probably quite a few folks that have not, but there are folks that actually are experts at it. Then you need to form a local study committee. It can be of any size. It does not have to be a huge group of people, but it should be of a number that you will get some representative comments and opinions from. The meetings have to be held between now and February 15th because the report to the state is due by the 16th, and we'll get into that briefly on what that consists of. But before you even start, again, review the posted materials on the website. We do have a separate PowerPoint presentation that's available for those conducting the consensus meetings, which can be used to whatever extent the group feels is appropriate for their group of people that are participating. This is our last webinar, so if you haven't participated thus far, this is it. I don't believe we're expecting any other additional webinars repeating today's webinar. And then basically let us know if you haven't already that your league is going to participate and develop a local league consensus committee. And the information here, the email to contact us at, and the information that we will be seeking, basically who you are and when you expect to be meeting. So that's some of the pre-meeting work that needs to be done. Karen's now going to take us into some of the specific resources and references that we've touched upon.
Okay, if you've never participated in a league consensus meeting, raise your hand. Six.
About half, maybe?
No, 7. Nope, 7 out of 25. There's actually 25 people. Oh, it actually adds it up for you there. There's 25 people on the webinar today for your information, and 2 are on the phone, and 7 just raised their hands. So thank you for that. The first document you probably want to look at, well, first of all, to find all the materials, they're on one page of the LWVMA website, lwvma.org, and this is the link, and that's one way to get there. The easier thing to remember and to do is to go to the LWVMA homepage. Over on the right is the quick links, and just click on the LWVMA study on the ballot question process. And once you get to that page there, and you scroll, first is some information on the schedule, but if you scroll down to the materials, there's the LWVMA study documents. This section contains the study guide and the background report, which we call the study report, and the appendices that go with it. Then the next section is the meeting documents, consensus meeting documents, and these are the things you have to have organized for the meeting, whereas the study documents are your committee that's doing the research and, becoming local experts. Those are your documents. The consensus meeting documents are documents that you'll find useful for the consensus meeting. And the first one is the PowerPoint, which we alluded to. I'm going to first look at this one, the Handbook for Successful Consensus Meetings. So It looks like this. Our study committee started by taking a document prepared by LWVUS and customizing it for Massachusetts. It's a general document, which would actually work for any state study, but we revised it recently. So you can tell by the table of contents that it's a good place to start to make sure you have everything covered and basically know what you're going to be doing. It's a PDF that can be downloaded, and I'm going to pop out of PowerPoint and pull up that document. So if anybody can't see the document that just came up, raise your hand. It's the handbook for a successful consensus meeting, and I'm scrolling down through it. So we're all good?
Yep.
Okay. So this document, I'm just going to quickly scroll through it so you can see what's covered, role of the local board, role of the study committee, things you need to do. Community education is something you might want to do. You might want to have a forum on ballot questions, the ballot question process after you've done your research. Not required, but it's a possibility. I'm going to have to move my little box because I can't see this. What to do before what to do for a successful consensus meeting, scheduling a practice session, guide for facilitators, tips reaching consensus, et cetera, role of the recorder. Okay, so yeah, I think you can see how this would be a useful place to start. I'm going to go back. To PowerPoint, and we'll go back to Donna as soon as I get it. I've got so much stuff on, I've got all these little things on my screen, and then everything is covered up. So here we go. So back to Donna.
Okay, as you form the local study committee, again, check out the details in the handbook. And also, the number of folks participating is really quite flexible, and it really depends on who you've got participating and whether you really feel as if you're going to get representation of what your league really feels. You can divide, if you have a larger group, you can divide into subgroups based upon, and when we show the consensus questions, there are some subcategories for the topics. There's about 15 questions, and they kind of fit into a few different categories, so you could divide into subgroups to research like that. Read the information that's in the study report and some of the referenced attachments and other materials that back up the study report. Read the study guide. So you and your study committee become the local experts, as you know, we're the group at the state level that has amongst us developed a certain level of expertise. And then each individual study committee will become the local experts. It's actually, for me, and I think for the rest of my committee, it's been a very interesting process, and I think it should develop or generate some great discussion amongst your group. So, again, the period of time we're talking about is from now until February 15th. The report will be due on the 16th. We're going to basically try to streamline the reporting processes as best possible, but you do need time for the board, your local board, to approve the submission as well. Decide how you're going to do it, how you're going to actually complete the consensus process. Are you going to discuss everything in one session? Are you going to break it out, the background and then the quote consensus agreement in separate sessions? Are you going to do daytime, evening, or how's it going to work for your local league? Line up your location, your facilitator, and your recorder, the key pieces to that, and encourage participation as best you can amongst your local league.
Okay, I'm gonna actually go to the website now, and we'll take a look at some of the documents.
We just lost Karen.
No, we didn't lose. I have to type in you can see me. You can see me typing, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you go to lwvma.org, as we said. And over here are the quick links, and it's right here. And this is the page with everything on it. And it starts with the schedule, most of which is already passed, and then it comes to the section with the documents. So the first document is the study guide. And the study guide contains the consensus questions. So for each question, there's the question. There's the possible answers. There's how Massachusetts does it, how other states do it, and then points of view. So reasons why you might say yes to this question and reasons you might say no. And then references, which may be outside, or it might be part of the study report, which we'll get to next. So question 2, same thing. They're divided, as I think Donna mentioned, they're divided into topic sections. So the first 3 are in one section. Then after question 5, you get to section 2, signature requirements. So, there are some broad categories which might help you divide up your study committee. So and while we're in here, I just want to scoot on down to the very last question, number 15. And just point out, be sure to leave time to get to number 15, because this is like the culminating question. And it's about whether we should, whether we're in favor of continuing to have ballot questions in these areas. So it's at the end because we sort of build up to it. But be sure to leave time to do that one. Okay. So back to the second thing in the list is the study report. And this is the background information. So if we look at the table of contents, start with the introduction, types of ballot questions in Massachusetts, the process in Massachusetts, voter information around the United States, and finance. And the consensus questions are basically in the same order, except the other states are thrown in on every question. I'm just gonna quickly flip through here because there's one section, types of ballot questions, historically ballot questions, the process in Massachusetts. I just wanted to point out these little boxes. These are trips down memory lane for most of you. So something that happened in 2013, something that happened in 2018. That wasn't that long ago. And these little pop-out boxes to put what's explained in perspective with a real example. And then then there's the appendices. The only other thing I want to look at right now is consensus questions, quick reference, and outcome sheet. This is so, you saw the study guide was 18 pages. This is 2 pages with just the questions. So this is intended for at the consensus meeting. Maybe you can hand this out to everybody and they can follow along with what you decide, yes, no consensus for each one. It's 2 pages, so it can be printed on one sheet, double-sided. So those were the materials I wanted to go over there. And let's see. And while we're here, I'm also gonna show you this other PowerPoint. He's losing that. Okay, so this is the PowerPoint that's intended to help you at your consensus meeting. This is available on request, and everybody who is on this call, we have your email addresses from when you signed up. You'll all receive this PowerPoint. So this is intended to be a help for you to use whatever way you want. If you don't project at your meeting, if it's in somebody's house, and you can actually project on most TVs these days, but if you can't do all that, you can print it out. You can print out 2 of these per page, back to back, and it's not that many pages. Whatever works for you. You don't have to include every single slide, but if you want to, there's slide, and then underneath there's some explanation to go with it, just to help you out. And as you go through, the study is only focused on statewide citizen-initiated ballot questions, not all ballot questions. Well, there are other kinds, but the study is not looking at those. Like I said, we looked at other states, not all of them, but a sample. And every state is unique in how they do ballot questions. There's nothing consistent, or very little. And let's see. Then we get down into, for each type of ballot question, we have the procedures that one has to go through to get on the ballot for each type of procedure. And those, a little bit to put it in perspective for what happened in 2018. Then we go to information for voters. So this PowerPoint basically follows, again, the order of the consensus questions. And there's, I think, just one thing on campaign spending. It's going up.
Big jump.
Okay, so then the PowerPoint moves to the consensus question, and this is simply the questions copied and pasted into PowerPoint. So if you are projecting, this is a good thing to focus on while you're doing the consensus. If you're not projecting, just hand out that 1-page thing. There's no reason to print out, one page per question to get this kind of a format. This is only if you're projecting. So if you want to photocopy the first part and stop here, I think it could still be useful. All right, so let's go back to the So the PowerPoint, to request it, you email bqstudy@lwvma.org. That goes just to Donna and me, so you're not emailing a great big group of people. It'll be
sending it out anyways. Oh,
yeah, right. Yeah, but if for some reason, use that email address if you didn't get something, you want something, and if we need to update it, then we'll email a new version to everyone. We expect, when people start using it, they'll find errors, and so it might be updated. Okay, back to Donna.
So we've heard from about 35 local leagues that are participating. If anybody's participating on this webinar this afternoon that we have yet to hear from your league and you're going to participate in the study, please email us and let us know, again, with the name and contact information, so we can keep you informed on anything that's going on. And so we'll have a good sense too of when ultimately we'll be looking to find out when the leagues are meeting, and just tracking along that to make sure that we'll get the information and the report by the deadline too. So, but we're expecting over 35 leagues participating, which is an excellent participation rate. So we're happy about that. Karen's done some great work kind of reaching out to folks and making sure they come to a conclusion one way or the other without just kind of dragging it on. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay, so now let's turn to the consensus meeting itself. The participants include the facilitator and the recorder. They are the two key roles you really need to have. The study committee, obviously, and then your members who will participate. The study committee provides the background. You have the PowerPoint and all the materials to use. The consensus questions, you do these one at a time. It's okay to go out of order. It's okay to skip and return. Very important not to get hung up on one question that you can't seem to reach consensus on. Just, put it in the parking lot, as we say, and come back to it. The study committee presents the summary and the arguments. The members come to consensus. The recorder records the results and the comments. And at the end, it's always good for the facilitator and the recorder to confer and confirm the completeness of the answers, of the results of the consensus. So what is consensus? It's collective opinion or general agreement. It's not a vote. Voting is not a substitute for the informal and meaningful give and take of discussion and agreement. It's members participating in a group discussion, and the consensus is reached by members through group discussion and not a simple majority. It doesn't have to be unanimous, but it's the sense of the group. It's important that one individual cannot simply declare a block to consensus. The group must agree that there is no consensus, if that's going to be your answer. There are many ways for leagues to collaborate. The only rule is that each league or unit must report its own consensus results, but you can still collaborate, and these are some possibilities. 2 leagues or more could have a joint study committee but separate consensus meetings, could have a separate study committees and a joint consensus meeting, or both could be joint, or you can just share tools, advice, and resources. You can also, if you're a member, couldn't come to your own consensus meeting, but a nearby league is having one, I'm sure you would be welcome at that consensus meeting. Or if your league is not participating for some reason. We are planning to have a online consensus meeting for members at large who are members of the state league and spread throughout the state. We also might encourage them to attend a meeting in their area. Are there any members at large on this call, on this conference, and webinar? And if so, can you please raise your hand? Okay, doesn't look like there is anyone. Okay, now, yep.
Once you've completed your meeting and you've come up with the results of your consensus, there's a few steps that need to be done in order to complete the study. We are in the process of finalizing the report procedure itself. We hope to have that available, and actually will probably be around the 1st of December.
That's a typo. It's supposed to be December 1st.
And we're hoping to streamline it as much as possible. However, before you submit the report to LWVMA, it has to be voted on by your local league board. So make sure you include enough time for that to happen. Again, the report's due February 16th. So you have to squeeze that in, the vote of the board before that. Again, you saw that kind of tally sheet that Karen displayed of the 15 questions. The report that you will be receiving to complete includes the results of each question, if you didn't come to consensus, and it allows for some general comments as well. and then on each question, then overall comments. So that's the reporting piece to the whole process. And then the LWVMA board will assign a committee or representatives to compile the results from all of the leagues and or units that we receive. Take a look at all of the comments, and from those draft a position statement that again will be voted on by all members participating at the 2019 convention in early June. So the board itself will approve the position statement, and then it will be brought forth for the convention in June. And all those participating will either approve or disapprove. So then, depending upon what the results are and whether they identify any action that might be necessary, if the members at the convention approve it, it will basically be added to the collection of positions that the board has taken on a number of different matters where we stand. So it will be clear if the board is fully in support of the process or has identified issues that might need to be tackled.
Okay, so this is the study committee. There are only 5 of us, but it worked out fine. And on behalf of the study committee, I want to thank you for participating in this, our last webinar. And now we're going to move on to questions. So if you want to ask a question orally, we'll give it a try. Raise your hand or type it into the box. Okay, Susan Clapham has raised her hand. So I give you permission to talk, Susan. Whoops, not available. Oh, okay, sorry, Susan, it says you're using, well, let's try this. Susan, can you hear us? Can you talk? No, I gotta, okay, oh, wait. There's still hope, there's still hope. Okay, Susan, go ahead.
Yes, I'm muted.
Hi.
Are you hearing us?
Now I hear you, yes.
Okay, so Irene Flint and I are here together. We're co-chairing our local group. And I had one question. You had asked us to email you with the date of our consensus meetings.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, now that you've mentioned that people who can't go to our meeting could go to a different one, are you going to be posting dates and places online so that people can look and see where they might be able to go if they can't go to their local one?
Yes, that's the plan. Probably not until we need a few more leagues telling us that information. Not everybody's scheduled it yet, but yes.
Okay,
We'll have that, and it'll have the local league and a contact person and location and the date.
And what league are you with, Suzanne?
We're in Wellesley.
Well, Susan, yeah.
Susan.
Okay.
Thank you. That answered my question.
All righty. Let's see. So somebody else has their hand up. Carol. This takes a minute for some reason.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm Carol. I'm with the Grafton Shrewsbury League.
Okay, great.
I came in a little bit late, so I know this may sound not too smart, but I just want to make sure that I understand that a local study committee is the group of league members. It's not something like that we're seeking other people like from our town.
Right.
It's just our little group, whoever,
Yep.
Whichever members of our league have decided to participate in this.
That's right.
Okay.
If you look at the document on the website called, you may have come in after I did this one, what's it called? Handbook for a Successful Consensus Meeting. It describes the committee and what it does.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, I'm glad to hear your league is here.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. From Betsy. Is a list of local leagues participating On the webinar, on this webinar, on the website? No, not yet. We're still in the process of contacting all the leagues. And we'll definitely do that because we want to put the list of where their consensus meetings are. So we do plan to do it, but it's not there yet. If you want to email us, bq@lwvma.org, BQ study, we'd be glad to tell you if you're interested in a particular league and whether.
What's Betsy's league?
He's from Brookline. Okay, Mary Cummings raised her hand.
I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm from Arlington, and this may be a stupid question, but the study group.
There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah, I've taught a lot of kids that, but when it's me asking, it feels differently.
Okay.
The study group, is that the group that will hear about your work
Yes.
at the consensus meeting, and then we do it with Winchester, and then we learn about it together, and then we break up and do our separate consensus? Or are you talking about a group that studies your material?
Well, you take our materials and you read it, and if you want to do more research on your own, you certainly can, but mostly it's taking the materials we provided and preparing to pass it on to the rest of your league at the consensus meeting.
So it's not separate from the consensus process?
No, it's part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, anybody else? Have a question? Nancy Brumback has a question. Nancy, I think you can speak because by virtue of being, of using the password that we all have, you should be able to speak. Try speaking.
I have to unmute.
Yeah, I don't think. Nancy, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Yeah, I found an unmute all that worked.
You think I'm a horrible dog owner because he's always he actually asks to go.
Yeah, hold on. I think I unmuted everybody on the webinar.
Really interesting.
So I'm going to mute everybody.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
Okay. Nancy, why don't you type in your question? I can't seem to get you unmuted. I don't know why I can't get mad. All right, in the meantime, does anyone else have a question?
I don't see Nancy on the list.
She's under panelist,
Yeah, I got her.
but there's no microphone next to her name. Okay, I think we're probably, if Nancy has a question, she can ask me sometime. So thank you all very much for joining us and for participating in the study. And if you have any questions, as we said, don't hesitate to email us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. So thanks a lot, and have a good night.
Thank you. Talk to you later, Karen.
Okay.
Bye.